But with President Trump's tariffs on Chinese-made products, will prices shoot up? KTBS 3's Julie Parr has more on the impact to local retailers.
Tonight, Ian Lee explains how import taxes on fireworks could affect America's 250th birthday celebration next year.
The fireworks industry says tariffs are having a big impact on their business.
Most fireworks come from China, but this year, some shipments were complicated by President Trump's tariffs.
Every July 4th, Americans gather beneath the sky and wait for the moment when everything goes dark, just before it explodes. In that instant, it is not about politics. It is not about inflation. It is not about the price of gas, food, or mortgages. It is about color, sound, fire. It is about the one shared tradition that has never failed: fireworks. But this year, the silence before the boom feels different. The industry behind that moment is in chaos, because the next time Americans look up, they might see nothing at all. Across the United States, fireworks display companies are in panic mode. The reason is not demand. It is not safety regulation. It is tariffs. Almost every firework launched in this country, 99%, is imported. And 99% of those imports come from one place: China.
Nearly 95% of all fireworks in the U.S. are imported from China.
These are not consumer gadgets. These are high-grade explosives developed through decades of supply chain specialization. And in 2025, that pipeline is collapsing. YouTube is not the biggest fan of content like this, but we believe people deserve to hear the truth. If you agree, hit that like button and subscribe. It helps us beat the algorithm and keep going. We really appreciate the support. On April 1st, President Donald Trump introduced a new wave of tariffs. Among them was a crushing increase on Chinese fireworks, duties that leapt from 10% to 145% overnight. The timing was catastrophic. Orders for July 4th fireworks are placed months in advance. Shipments were already on the water when the tariffs hit. Importers were blindsided. Display companies across the country issued the same order: stop shipping. Do not send the containers. We cannot afford it. Julie Heckman, executive director of the American Pyrotechnics Association, called it the worst timing imaginable.
Frustrating, if you will, for the whole industry. How does a small business make decisions with this level of uncertainty?
Fireworks that had already been purchased suddenly became unaffordable. Chinese suppliers paused production. Inventory backed up at ports, and the industry froze. By May, the federal government announced a 90-day pause. The tariffs were dialed back to 30% temporarily. That pause expires on July 9th.
We had some welcome news on May 12th. President Trump did announce that there would be a 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariffs.
And if no new agreement is reached, the 145% tariff will return permanently. That number is not survivable. Not for small companies, not for mid-sized operators, not even for the largest display firms in the country. A tariff of that size means a shipment that once cost $50,000 now costs more than $120,000. And in this industry, margins are slim. A single canceled contract can take out a business. So far, the damage has been delayed, but not avoided. Phantom Fireworks, one of the largest retailers in the country, said they managed to import most of their stock before the April tariff spike.
We're fortunate that we negotiated good pricing last year, so the tariff initially didn't affect our prices.
85% of their supply arrived early. That strategy allowed them to hold prices steady, but it is not sustainable, and other companies were not so lucky. In Missouri, the Hoffman family has run a fireworks business for decades. This year, they absorbed tens of thousands of dollars in unexpected tariffs. Marianne Hoffman, one of the owners, said plainly, "We are absorbing the cost."
How do tariffs impact you when 100% of your product comes from China?
I'd say it directly impacts us. Everything is coming straight there.
In Texas, another distributor was hit with the full 145% duty on a shipment and simply accepted the loss. They could not pass the cost to customers. They had no choice. These stories are repeating nationwide. Fireworks companies are swallowing the pain in 2025 so they can survive. But they are warning that by 2026, something will have to give. That warning matters. Because 2026 is not just another year. It is the 250th anniversary of American independence, a semi-quincentennial celebration that is expected to be the largest in history. Millions of people, thousands of towns, hundreds of cities, and every single one of them will expect a show. But the shows might not happen. Display companies are already pulling back. In some cities, 4th of July shows were shortened this year. In others, backup product had to be substituted because the original shells were stuck overseas. In many cases, organizers simply hoped the public would not notice. The real challenge is next year. Orders for the 250th celebration need to be placed now. This summer, Chinese factories operate on long production cycles. They need months of lead time. But American buyers are frozen. They do not know whether the tariff will stay at 30% or return to 145%. The difference is the difference between survival and collapse, and the government is not budging. When asked about the impact, a White House spokesperson responded, "Real prosperity and patriotism is not celebrating with cheap foreign firecrackers. It is building American manufacturing and restoring economic independence." The administration's message is clear. The pain is the point, but that pain is not being distributed evenly. Fireworks are unique. They cannot be easily made in the United States. Not at scale, not safely, not under current regulations. Factories would take years to build. Materials would need to be resourced. Training programs would need to be developed. The infrastructure simply does not exist. And even if it did, the cost would be astronomical. That is why fireworks remain an imported product, and that is why tariffs hit so hard. There is no fallback. There is no domestic option waiting in the wings, only canceled orders, empty warehouses, and dark skies. Already, some American companies are warning they may go out of business.
But she also told me that before I started doing it. I am one, I try to help people.
The president of the National Fireworks Association said it bluntly, "We are in panic mode." That is not lobbying. That is reality. Chinese suppliers are feeling the impact too. Many factories shut down early this year when orders from the United States were canceled. Workers were furloughed. Production lines went idle because fireworks cannot be stockpiled. They are dangerous. They require constant oversight. If no one is buying, they are not being made, and the rest of the world is watching. Europe, Canada, Australia, India all source fireworks from the same factories. When American demand stops, those factories slow down, and that affects global supply. If the US continues to pull back, other countries will see shortages, price increases, and scheduling problems. Because fireworks are a global business, and the United States is its largest customer. Some foreign buyers are taking advantage of the moment, placing orders early, locking in favorable prices, but that is temporary. If American demand drops permanently, Chinese suppliers will raise prices on everyone else. The system is interconnected, and it is now unstable. Back in the United States, the impact is starting to move beyond July 4th.
Last year, Americans spent more than $2 billion on fireworks for the 4th of July season.
Weddings, sports events, corporate shows, theme park displays, these are all powered by imported fireworks, and many are already being scaled back, not because demand is down, but because product is unavailable or too expensive. The American Pyrotechnics Association has petitioned the government for a full exemption. They received one in 2019, but so far, the new administration is resisting. They believe fireworks should be subject to the same rules as every other Chinese import.
The majority of U.S. importers told China, "Do not ship our product, we can't afford to pay."
That argument might make sense on paper, but on the ground, it is creating a crisis. Retailers are running out of ways to protect consumers. This year, most held prices steady. Phantom Fireworks said about 30% of their products saw a price increase, usually between 5 and 15%. But that restraint is gone. Next year, if the tariffs stay, prices could rise by 20 to 40%, or more. The American people are not prepared for that. Fireworks are not just entertainment. They are tradition. They are expected. They are part of the national identity. And when they disappear, people notice. In some towns, local governments are already considering alternatives. Laser shows, drone displays, music-only events. Some are even considering canceling entirely. One mayor in rural Ohio said his city council is debating whether to host a celebration at all in 2026. Their usual budget has tripled, and there is no guarantee the product will even arrive on time. That conversation is happening in cities across the country. Because the tariff is not just economic, it is emotional, it is cultural, it is visible, and it is shaking the foundation of one of America's oldest traditions. As of now, the fireworks industry is still fighting, hoping for a reprieve, a delay, or even a second exemption, but the clock is ticking. The 90-day pause expires on July 9th. After that, the duty could return to 145%, permanently. And if that happens, the skies may go dark. Let us know what you think in the comments.